Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Maharaj ki.
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki.
Jai.
Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki.
Jai.
Prem Skaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki.
Jai.
Shri Radha Krishna Gopakopinath Shamakunda Radha Kundi Giri Govardhan ki.
Jai.
Shri Vrindavan Dham ki.
Jai.
Jagannath Puri Dham ki.
Jai.
Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki.
Jai.
Ganga Mai ki.
Jai.
Jamuna Mai ki.
Jai.
Bhakti Devi ki.
Jai.
Tulsi Devi ki.
Jai.
Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki.
Jai.
Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki.
Jai.
Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki.
Jai.
Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Hari Hari
Hari
Bol.
Hari Bol.
All glories the assembled devotees.
Hari Krishna.
All glories the assembled devotees.
Hari Krishna.
All glories the assembled devotees.
Hari Krishna.
All glories, all glories, all glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga.
Gaur Hari Bol.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Tirtha Swami Niti Namane Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Ashtatatmane Sri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Iti Namane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Hare Krishna devotees. Thank you, Mother Shubharati. I was going to ask you if you want me to share the screen, if you have to leave. But you popped it up there, so thank you. Okay, we are beginning a new chapter today in the third canto. We are now doing chapter 3, so canto 3, chapter 3, text number 1. And this is going to speak about Krishna's pastimes outside of Vrindavan. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam hudirajit nasta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtuki. Before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should first offer our respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human beings, unto the Goddess of Learning, Mother Saraswati, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Our regular attendance in class in Srimad Bhagavatam, and rendering service to the pure devotee. All that is troublesome to the heart becomes almost completely destroyed, and devotional service unto the Supreme Lord becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Urava uvacha tata swagatya puram swapitros chikirshaya shambaladeva samyuta nipatya tungar ripuyutanatam hatam vyakarshad vyasum ojasoryam. Urava uvacha tata swagatya puram swapitros chikir rashaya shambaladeva samyuta nipatya tungar ripuyutanatam Hatam yakarshad vyasum ojasoryam Urvacha tata svagatya puram swapitros Chikirshayasham Baladeva Samyuta Nipatya Tungad Niputyuta Natam Hatam Yakarshad Vyasum Ojasoryam. Please chant.
उद्धव उवाच तथा सागत्य पुरं स्वपित्रोश्चिकीर्षया संबलदेवसंयुता निपात्य तुङ्गाद्रिपुयूतनाथं हतं व्यकर्षद्व्यसुमोजसोर्व्याम्
उद्धवाच तथा स आगत्य पुरं स्वपित्रोश्चिकीर्षया बलदेव संयुतः निपत्य तुङ्गात् त्रिपयोतनाथं हतं व्याकर्षात् व्यासं वजोऽसोर्वयम्
हरे कृष्ण
हरे कृष्ण
उद्भव उवाच तथा सा आगता पुरं सपित्रोश्चिकीर्षया संबलदेव संयुतः निपत्ततुङ्गारिपुरुत यथा नाथन् हतं भयाकर्षाद् भयशुम् अजर्षभयम्। हरे कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण
हरे कृष्ण उद्धव उवाच तथा शागत्य पुरं स्वापितृचिकीर्षया बलदेव संयुतः निपत्या तुङ्गतरिपुयाथ नाथं हातं व्याकर्षद् वयसुम् अजर्षुयम्। हरे कृष्ण
हरे कृष्ण उद्वा उवाच तथा सः गत्या पुरं स्वपित्रोश्चिकीर्षया संबलदेव संयुतः निपात्य तुङ्गादिरिपुयूतनाथम् हतं व्याकर्षद्वयसोमोजसोर्वयाम्। हरे कृष्ण
उद्धव उवाच तथा सागत्य पुरं स्वपित्रोश्चिकीर्षया बलदेव संयुतः निपात्य तुङ्गाद्रिपुयूतनाथं हतं व्यकर्षाद्व्यसुमोजसोर्व्याम्।
Okay, thank you all for chanting. We'll look at the synonyms. Uddhava Uvacha. Sri Uddhava said, Tata, thereafter, Saha, the Lord, Agatya, coming, Puram, the city of Puram, the city of Mathura, Swapitro, own parents, Chikira Shaya, wishing well, Sham, well-being, Baladev Samyuta, with Lord Baladev, Nipatya, dragging down, Tungat, from the throne, Ripu Yuta Natam, leader of public enemies, Hatam, killed, Yakarshat, pulled, Vyasam, dead, Ojasa, by strength, Urvyayam, on the ground. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Uddhava said, thereafter, Lord Krishna went to Mathura city with Sri Baladev to please their parents. Excuse me. Let me repeat that. I missed the comma there, so there was a pause. Sri Uddhava said, thereafter, Lord Krishna went to Mathura city with Sri Baladev, and to please their parents, they dragged Kamsa, the leader of public enemies, down from his throne and killed him, pulling him along the ground with great strength. Purport. King Kamsa's death is only briefly described here because such pastimes are vividly and elaborately described in the 10th canto. The Lord proved to be a worthy son of his parents, even at the age of 16 years. Both brothers, Lord Krishna and Lord Baladev, went to Mathura from Vrindavan and killed their maternal uncle, who had given so much trouble to their parents, Vasudeva and Devaki. Kamsa was a great giant, and Vasudeva and Devaki never thought that Krishna and Baladev, would be able to kill such a great and strong enemy. When the two brothers attacked Kamsa on the throne, their parents feared that now Kamsa would finally get the opportunity to kill their sons, whom they had hidden for so long in the house of Nanda Maharaj. The parents of the Lord, due to parental affection, felt extreme danger, and they almost fainted. Just to convince them that they had actually killed Kamsa, Krishna and Baladev pulled Kamsa's dead body along the ground to encourage them. Haribol. Om Agyanatimbharandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Datati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Samjivam Sarvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Param Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakamitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishnubhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Evacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha Namom Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna devotees, I'll read the text one more time. Sri Uddhava said, thereafter Lord Krishna went to Mathura city with Sri Baladev, and to please their parents they dragged Kamsa, the leader of public enemies, down from his throne and killed him, pulling him along the ground with great strength. This is text 1 of the 3rd chapter of the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled "The Lord's Pastimes out of Vrindavan." So the previous chapter was just a summary, and it wasn't a complete summary. And this chapter also will be just highlight on a couple points, because as mentioned in the purport by Srila Prabhupada, in the 10th canto, we get a very elaborate and vivid description of these pastimes in great detail. The killing of Kamsa was of great significance, because Kamsa, he was a tyrant. He represented fear, and as long as Kamsa was still alive, the parents and loved ones of Lord Krishna always knew that Krishna was in danger. And similarly, from Kamsa's perspective, as long as Krishna and Balaram were still alive, Kamsa also knew that his life was in great danger. And this took place for 16 years. This was going on. The fear that was in the heart of Devaki and Vasudeva, as well as Nanda and Yashoda. When will it be that Kamsa will send another agent to try to kill our beloved Krishna? And Kamsa was thinking that, when will it be that one of my agents will finally get a chance to kill Krishna? After 16 years of living in Vrindavan and the surrounding villages of Vrindavan, by divine arrangement, Krishna and Balaram proceeded to Mathura. And a couple activities happened before this when they arrived, but Krishna and Balaram, they were in a fighting pit, and we see these things now, but they're a little bit different than they were back then. They still have remnants of these places, like in the Roman Empire. You can go to the Colosseum, and that was a famous fighting pit where people would wrestle or fight in different ways, and oftentimes to death they would fight. And the king would be there, and the citizens would be there, and they would find great pleasure in this activity. Like today we go out and we may watch a football game, or a baseball game, or a basketball game, or a tennis match. Back then they used to watch fighting. Now they still have fighting. You can still watch it on TV. Usually they don't fight till death, but it's very violent, and people take great pleasure in the violence. There's something about within our, I guess, lower nature that when we see people fighting, we take pleasure in the fact that somebody's getting bloodied and beat up and thrown to the ground, and their head smacks against the ground, and their arms may break or their teeth may come out. Something about the intrigue. Of course, we never want that to happen to us, but it's a guilty pleasure that exists of watching somebody else, undergo such torture. Of course, this isn't really, a mood of a Vaishnava who wants to see the upliftment of everybody, but at the same time, and certainly not where, if we need to be violent, where violence should be applied. But anyway, these things take place, and these things took place back during Krishna's time as well. So Krishna and Balaram were in this wrestling arena, and they were matched up against two giants. And there's a picture of this. I mean, you see this picture so nicely drawn. Um, it's like they're like 2 times the size, both in width and height. Their muscle masses are enormous. These are bodybuilders, trained fighters. And Krishna and Balaram were just 16 years old at the time. And they grabbed hands and they locked down and they're pushing back and forth. And everybody in the stands are thinking, okay, this is going to be over very quickly. So these fighters, Chanura and Mustika. Chanura was fighting Lord Krishna and Mustika was fighting Balaram. And it was taking place at the same time. And this is captured in the 44th chapter of the Krishna book. And the art of wrestling, Srila Prabhupada says, was on full display. But the audience was not very satisfied with this, because in a fight you always want to see that it would be fair. And this wasn't being perceived as a fair fight. Here there are two young adolescent teenagers, Krishna and Balaram, who weren't appear to be very muscular, and their size was not very big, versus Chanura and Mustika. So they just started yelling, this is not a fair fight. This is an injustice. Somebody please stop. It has to, put somebody in who's at least, the same size as these two guys. It's incompatible. There's no sense of enjoyment, here. We want to see an equal, two people of equal talent face off. In fact, it was described that Mustika and Chanura were just like thunderbolts, as strong as great mountains, and Krishna and Balaram were like two delicate boys of a tender age. People started leaving the assembly, protesting justice. At the same time, there were people that stayed. And some people stayed because they were enamored by the beauty of Lord Krishna. In fact, there were some ladies that stood up and they started speaking. And they says, there are drops of perspiration on the face of Lord Krishna from chasing his enemy. And his face appears like a lotus flower with drops of water dripping from it. So just like in the morning time or after it rains, you'll have this lotus flower, and maybe there's some dew on the ground or it just rained, and water's just kind of dripping off of it. And this is how they compared the beauty of Lord Krishna. Another lady said, don't you see how the face of Lord Balaram has turned especially beautiful? There's a reddish hue on his whitish face because he is engaged in a strenuous wrestling match of Mustika. So based on one's qualification, every living entity has an eternal relationship with Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram. And based on that relationship, we perceive Krishna in different ways. Some see Krishna as our order supplier. Krishna, give me this, give me that. Others see Krishna as fear. Krishna, you are death, and the way that everything is ending in my life and coming to an end, you are in control of that. So we hear about seeing God as being being fearful of God. At any time, life could end, and therefore, Krishna, please protect me. I'm afraid. Some people see Krishna and see beauty. They see God and they see the beauty of God. Some people have the mood of awe and reverence. And in the Vaishnav theology, which is unique, and we don't see this hardly at all in any of the other theologies, despite how learned a person may be in scholarship and faith in various religions. But to know the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a friend, a real friend, not just a well-wishing friend, not just, yes, you're my friend because you've given me everything and you've protected me in situations in life, but a friend on the level of equality. What to speak of God being your child and you having to support the Supreme Lord, or having Krishna as a lover. Those relationships at the higher levels also exist. So one by one, people started to stand up and give their testimony of what they were seeing. Some saw injustice and they left. Others saw the beauty of Krishna. Others saw that, they started seeing Krishna. They would hear about, because Mathura wasn't too far away. It's a short distance from Vrindavan. So they heard rumors about what are some special things about Krishna. A cowherd boy playing on his flute. And now they were starting to see that manifest before their eyes. And some began to offer prayers. And this was taking place. Prayers were being sung. Now, Krishna also, understanding, being the super soul within the heart of every living being, could understand that the people in the assembly that stayed, especially the ladies who were standing up and glorifying Lord Krishna and Balaram, they were anxious for him. They were fearful, again, because of the size that they saw between Chanura and Mustika. And so they started feeling great anxiety as they were calling out and glorifying them. So he decided to continue to wrestle. And he began saying, okay, I'm going to end their anxiety and I will kill them. Nanda, you can only imagine the anxiety of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, Devaki, and Vasudeva. After escaping so many times near-death situations, here it looked like they were going to be crushed by the hands of these giants. And who was there to protect them? No one. So Lord Krishna began to engage more intensely in the fighting with Chanura. And he struck him. Then all of a sudden, the audience saw that Chanura, he jolted backwards. And people thought, well, how did that happen? And in astonishment, the audience, they just let out this big, sigh of what just happened here? Chanura looked like he was vulnerable. And then, and out of anger, Chanura started striking the chest of Lord Krishna. Grabbing, it says he grabbed two hands like this and just started wailing away at Krishna's chest. Krishna then quickly grabbed the hands of Chanura and began to swing him around in like a wheel. You can imagine. So he went to hit him, and he grabbed his two hands, and then he started to spin him around, faster and faster and faster and faster, until Chanura, his life air left him, and he died. And then Krishna threw him on the ground like a wet rag. At the same time, Balaram and Mustika were fighting. And Lord Balaram, they were just punching back and forth, one stroke after the other. And Mustika started getting tired and began to tremble. And all of a sudden, he started to vomit up his blood. One stroke, one blow after another. The vital force within him left. And he fell to the ground like a tree that was just cut. After the audience in astonishment, they couldn't believe what had just happened, before their eyes. And then they started understanding, wow, these rumors that we had heard of Krishna and Balaram killing these demons is being manifested before us, before our eyes. So right after that, wrestlers having the fighting spirit, there were other wrestlers in the audience, and they immediately jumped over the wall to come down into the fighting pit. Shala, Toshala, were two fighters. They came and they ran to fight and defeat Lord Krishna and Balaram. And one by one, Lord Krishna and Balaram destroyed them, this time very quickly. Krishna kicked one of them in the head, and the head just broke right open. One punch would just knock out one after the other, to the point where there was like imagine that there was like a group that was sitting there watching them, and under the command of King Kamsa, he was saying, get out there, fight, fight, fight. But when they saw that Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna were destroying them so easily, some of them just started to flee in fear of their lives. Krishna had some boyfriends there, some of his cowherd friends, and they came forward and they started congratulating them with great pleasure. And we can imagine what this sounded like. The trumpets and bugles and drums started to play. Bells were being rung in celebration that there was a victory that took place. The audience started to jump up and down and clap their hands in great ecstasy from what they saw, and their hearts filled with pleasure. There were brahmanas present, and they began to chant prayers and praises to Lord Balaram. However, there was one person who remained that was still morose. He was angry. He was upset. And despite the victory of Lord Krishna, and how pleased everyone else seemed to be, Kamsa, because of his envy and his determination to see that Krishna was dead, he remained silent. Kamsa, he resented the fact, you can understand, everybody around him was cheering, and he's the king. So immediately he ordered all the music to stop. The band stopped playing, and then he said, I order that these two sons of Vasudeva, Krishna and Balaram, immediately be driven out of Mathura. The cowherd boys who came with them should be plundered of all their riches and should be taken away. Nanda Maharaj should immediately be arrested and killed for his cunning behavior, and the rascal Vasudev should also be killed without delay. Also my father Ugrasena, who has always supported my enemies against my will, should be killed. He started panicking, trying to eliminate, knowing that he wasn't going to be able to kill Lord Krishna. Out of fear, he took this drastic action. And Krishna, hearing these words of Kamsa, speaking that he was going to kill his parents, ran up and jumped up on top of where Kamsa was sitting, knocked his crown off his head, and grabbed him by the hair. And just as he did that, Kamsa actually was looking for, he imagined that this was going to be the case. And he wanted to have Krishna one-on-one. So as he did that, he pulled out his sword that was on his waist. And as Krishna jumped up and grabbed his head, he brought his sword and he brought it up with the other hand and was ready to come down and kill Lord Krishna with his sword. Lord Krishna grabbed hold of his sword. He grabbed hold of his hands and caught him with force and threw him off of his throne. And he dragged Kamsa from his seat down into the wrestling pit and started beating him one stroke after the other, pounding on his chest, one after the other. It says they straddled over top of him until Kamsa finally lost his life and was dead. And then to assure his parents, because everybody was in astonishment that this really happened. And again, Kamsa represented that as soon as he was gone, we could finally have peace. So how to assure that Kamsa was actually dead? Because sometimes when there's a fight, it's kind of hard to tell. Somebody's on top, then somebody else is on the bottom, and somebody else is on top. Maybe he's just injured, but he's going to get back up and get away. So Lord Krishna grabbed him and started dragging him around the wrestling pit to demonstrate to everybody that he's not getting up. He's dead. His life air has left him. And this demonstrated to everybody that everything is going to be all right now. There's no reason to no longer live in fear. And this gave such pleasure and relief that the spectators started to express their jubilation. Now, there were some, because Kamsa, his wife, became very, let me say this first. I'll go to that. So Kamsa, his wife, and he also had, so Kamsa had 8 brothers, and they were all younger brothers. So in defense of his brother, of their brother, they also rushed out to try to defend his honor. Now Kamsa was killed by Lord Krishna, and this was inevitable. This was due to the will of providence. This was inevitable. That had to be, Krishna had, the omen was that that Kamsa was going to be killed by the eighth son of Devaki. But these other brothers, so to kill your maternal uncle is not a good thing. So these 8 sons were killed by Lord Balaram, who had no blood relationship, because he was the son of Vasudeva and Rohini. And then Vasudeva, Devaki was connected to Lord, to Kamsa, where Krishna was born of Devaki. Rohini didn't have that relationship, and Vasudeva was only an in-law of Kamsa. So Krishna, although it could have killed them, he had Lord Balaram kill them. Therefore, maintaining, it's Srila Prabhupada writes in the Krishna book, although Krishna is independent of all Vedic injunctions, he violates the Vedic injunctions only in inevitable cases. Kamsa could not be killed by anyone but Krishna. Therefore, he was obliged to kill him. But as far as Kamsa's 8 brothers were concerned, Balaram took charge of killing them. Balaram's mother Rohini, although the wife of Vasudeva, was not the sister of Kamsa. Therefore, Balaram took charge of killing Kamsa's 8 brothers. When Kamsa died, very interestingly enough, and we hear about this, that if one is killed by Krishna, and one is such a great demon, and they feel the touch of Krishna as they lose their life, they get liberation into the Brahmajyoti, Sayuja Mukti. Now, this isn't the goal of a devotee of Krishna, because in that stage there is no service. In Kamsa's case, he received Surupya Mukti after his death. Srila Prabhupada writes, according to the opinion of authorities, Kamsa attained Surupya Mukti after his death. That is, that he's attained the same form, the bodily form, as Lord Narayan. So there's a reason for this. And the reason is that when we read this in the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam tyajati anti kalevaram tam tam ivaiti konteya sada tad bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without doubt. So a person at the end of their life, when you quit your body thinking of Krishna, attains the transcendental nature of Krishna. But if one's thinking of something else other than Krishna, there's no guarantee they will attain that same transcendental state. So Kamsa, throughout his life, ever since he had heard that the 8th son of his sister, Devaki, was going to kill him, in fear and retaliation, he could think of nothing but Krishna. He had the form of Krishna on his mind constantly. Now, it wasn't such that, as we're taught to meditate upon Krishna, we're taught to meditate upon Krishna in a loving way, in the mood of service, in the mood of joy, the beauty of Krishna, the opulence of Krishna, to see the energy of Krishna. This is how we're instructed and shown how to taught by our spiritual masters. Kamsa, on the other hand, he thought of Krishna in an unfavorable way. So this can't be pure devotional service. Yet, because he always thought of Krishna, and Krishna was on he could see the form of Krishna and was meditating on it as his life air was leaving him. He was promoted and given this Swarupya Mukti. We find this with other demons, like Putana, who, even though she meant Krishna the most harm by trying to kill him, because she played the role of a mother, she got promoted into this role of motherhood and in Goloka Vrindavan. Now we may think that this is unfair. How could this be? Where is the justice in this? We think about it from our perspective when we think like this, because we live in a world of justice. Where are the rules? For every crime there has to be a punishment. Of course, it would be unfair to see somebody not have to undergo the suffering for all the pain they've caused others. But seeing it from Krishna's perspective, and we can learn something from this, is that Krishna sees, we learn from this, that if your intention is wrong, but your action is right, Krishna sees your action. If your action is right, but your intention is, if your intention is right, but your action is wrong, Krishna sees your intention. Oftentimes we just look at it from the intention. They say, what is the person's intention? If your intention is good, but the activity didn't come out right, well, at least we know that your intention was there. And you get credit for your intention. Again, this is how we rationalize it. Krishna is so merciful. And therefore they pray, who but Lord Krishna is worthy of our worship? Who took the demoness, Putana, who went to kill Krishna, and he promoted her to such an elevated position. So, this is something that we can meditate upon, that just how merciful Lord Krishna was in this assembly. And the other thing I wanted to mention briefly as we conclude is that it took 16 years to kill Kamsa. And we may wonder, why didn't Krishna just kill him from the very beginning? All these, put everybody's distress at ease from the very beginning. Of course, he was killing so many of the other demons. Why did it take 16 years? He certainly is the Supreme Lord. He's independent of everyone. He's not dependent upon, Kamsa being present to kill him. He could have made an arrangement. Everything is happening by the divine arrangement of the Lord anyway. So, obviously this was the plan of Krishna, even though we can't understand the plan of Krishna. This is happening. We know that these pastimes also took place, were part of Krishna's enjoyment, fighting with these demons. It brought a more intensity in the relationship between Krishna and his devotees, where they got to depend upon Krishna and see his glory, and develop a deeper love for Krishna. And then there's also, we read from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He has written about the demons of Vrindavan. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his son, has also elaborated on this quite a bit. That each of these demons that were killed in Sri Vrindavan, they represented an anartha that we have to overcome. And so as these demons were being killed, similarly, we can meditate upon that in order for, I guess, the Kamsa, who represented the source of all these other demons, was to be put to his death. We can see these things as, also from the perspective of our anarthas. And what is really keeping us from worshiping Lord Krishna with a pure heart. And Krishna is there within our lives to help us remove these anarthas, a false ego, so there's so many. Let's see if I have them here. I had them up. Sorry, I had them up last night, and I changed the page, and don't know if I can find them again. I'm sorry about that. I thought I had it, but I started searching for more things, and I stayed on that page. Anyway, that principle is there as well, that we can see from. Okay, I will stop here. See if there's any questions or comments, and thank you all for tuning in today to hear about the killing of King Kamsa by the hands of Lord Krishna, and how he attained Sarupya liberation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. It's a very beautiful class. Prabhuji, I have a question like our Kanksha, there is a demon also living inside me. So I am in constant fear that I may lose this, I may lose that, what will happen in future, what will happen tomorrow. So Prabhuji, I want to ask, this is some kind of attachment, so that because that's why I am living in constant fear.
Mm-hmm.
So how to get rid of that? Chanting, and sometimes nothing helps, honestly. So, and I cannot concentrate also.
Yeah, well, it may not be so easy for me to answer, because I can answer in a general way, but unless I understand what's really causing that fear, it's hard to say for sure. But the one thing is that this is a world of fear that we live in. We have protection like houses and cars and clothing and heat, and we have law enforcement, which keeps us from really being in fear. If you look at the animal kingdom, they're always living in fear. Like if you watch an animal show, they're just walking around with their heads going like this constantly, because who's my food, and who's going to be my food, and what is my food, So someone's going to kill me, and I'm going to kill them, and they know that, and that is fearful, the fear of death, the fear of suffering. That lies within everybody. You're not unique. However, when we understand the philosophy given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, we can understand that on a philosophical level, at least, that the soul is different than the body, and the soul will never be killed. It cannot be cut, it cannot be destroyed, it will live on forever. But our current situation will change. We'll have 80, 90 years on this earth, and then we'll go into another body. And we may go back into our spiritual body. if we're in union with Krishna in pure devotion. So the first thing to get rid of fear is that we have to have knowledge. And with that knowledge, we'll bring about a different life, a different way that we live, a different practice, a different way of doing things, a different way of seeing challenges and fearful situations in life. And we see those fearful situations that arise, you know that ultimately I can't be destroyed as a spirit soul. And then I'm going to take shelter of Krishna, who is the supreme protector. Rake More, what was that? Krishna More Rake Ke, Rake Krishna More Ke.
Rakhe Krishna mare Krishna rakhe ke.
Yes. You know what that means?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Can you say the English?
Yeah, if Krishna is the protector, then who is going to kill me? And if Krishna wants to kill me, who is going to protect me?
Exactly, yeah. So this is actually a good mantra to chant for you, because all these circumstances are there, arranged, either already through our karma or through the arrangement of Krishna so that we can come closer to him and develop our love of God for him. This is, it's a little bit of a deeper subject, but, and if you want, we can talk about it. For a devotee, calamities are different than the calamities of a non-devotee. But we should understand the principle. Just going back to summarize it, the principle is that philosophically we have to be clear. Our knowledge has to be clear. And then we have to begin to live our lives according to that knowledge. And with that is chanting. Chanting will help relieve the stress of the mind. Then also, when you begin to live a lifestyle of Krishna consciousness, you start to see that actually Krishna is in control, and I'm not in control. And when we start to lose and let go and let Krishna be in control, we'll actually see the anxiety in our lives begin to decrease little by little. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes. Thank you so much.
And if you want to talk more about it, I'm open to doing so, because it is a deep subject matter, and
Yeah.
it may require some specifics. But we want to overcome this fear, and the only way we can truly overcome this fear in this material world is being Krishna conscious.
Okay. So when you are able to be talk, you are free to talk. What time? What is suitable time for you?
Suitable time. Do you have my phone number?
No, Prabhuji, but I can take it from Vindavali Mataji if she is having. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And you just maybe send me a text, and then we can set up a time.
Yes, I can give you Sutapa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we can talk. Because once we get to that point of how to overcome it, it's actually a very good stage. It means that we want to take that next step in our spiritual life. And a lot of times people get to this point and then they go the opposite way. So congratulations for getting to that point.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you very much, Prabhu. A nice class. A lot of good points. And Krishna has all the 6 opulences. We cannot be, I don't know why Kamsa was trying to be, but he has all the opulences. He has 6 qualities. And who can be compared with that?
Yeah.
So we have to love him and Sarvadharman Parityaja, surrender to him. That's all. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Krishna's victory over Kamsa ki jai.
Jai.
Bye.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Have a wonderful. Oh, real quick. Tonight we have a special program at the temple. There's a devotee, Braj Bihari Prabhu, devotee from Iskon Chaupati, very wonderful brahmachari, author, great preacher. He's going to be at the temple tonight speaking. Program begins at 6:30 p.m. Hope you can make it. Thank you all very much. Have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
day.
Panchakalpatarubhyascha
च
Pachitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnaveभ्यो Namo Namaः. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you,
Very nice
Prabhu.
class.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.